Okay, everybody, what we're going to do today is I'm going to demo a colored paper drawing. But the thing is, our paper is going to be colored in Photoshop, so it's digital paper. And what we're going to do, we are going to composite a figure and a background using our drawing skills, rendering it in a complementary color to the paper. Now that I said all those words, let me actually show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to open Photoshop and I'm going to go to File, New. And I want it to be in inches, so it will be like a standard sheet of paper. And I'll make it the size of a standard sheet of paper, with my wide side being 11 inches and my height being 8.5. I want my resolution to be 300 in case if I wanted to print it out. And I can change my background color here, but I'm actually going to do it through a fill layer. So I'll go ahead and do Create. Now I just have a regular layer, right? So I have to get the colored part of my colored paper. So I'll go down here to my fill layer. I'll click on that half and half symbol and go to solid color. Now I'm going to want my color to be, the color that I'm working with to be yellow, or maybe yellow orange. So I'm going to work with a blue violet colored paper. I want my color to have some gray in it, so it's not so saturated that it's distracting while I'm working on it. So it will be a tone of blue violet rather than pure hue blue violet. And I'll rename this layer BG Color, and I'll lock it. So what I've done so far, I went to File, made a new file that was 8.5 by 11 with the resolution being 300. I created a solid color layer using adjustment layers and picked a tone of the color that I would like to choose. Now I have to pick the color that my quote-unquote pencil would be. Since the opposite of blue-violet is yellow-orange, that is going to be the basis of the three colors I'm going to use. So I'm going to come down to this symbol right here that looks like a new sheet of paper, which is my new layer button. I'm going to click on that, and I'll double click on the words to rename it Palette. You can name it, spell it any way you want to. I'm not worried about spelling. If you want to spell it like Pallet Town from Pokemon, I'm totally okay with that. So I'll pick a yellow-orange color from my color picker, and I'm going to pick a highlight color, which will be something nice and bright. Make sure I have 100% opacity there. So I'll have a highlight color. I'll have a mid-tone color, which doesn't have to be pure hue orange. It can have a yellow orange. It can have a little bit of gray in it if you want. And I'll choose a shade of orange, yellow orange. In this case, it looks straight up brown, which is fine. But try to stay away from neutrals when you do this project yourself. Now that I have that palette layer, I will lock it, so I won't move it or accidentally draw on it or anything like that. Lastly, I'll make my final layer, and we are going to work on this like a study. I want you to work on it for 2 hours. And we are actually going to do it all in one layer. If you want your figure to be on one layer and your background to be on another, that's fine. But for the sake of speed, we're not going to do that big setup like we did for our creature contrast project. Now, I already have my references up. I have my background image, which is an image of some dark woods, and a lovely ballerina for my figure. It can be anything that your heart desires, but keep in mind you're to complete this in 2 hours, so you don't want to be overly ambitious. That being said, we never want our drawings to be boring. So you can start with either one first. I can tell you traditionally, most people start with the background first, but if you're in love with the figure, hey, go with your inspiration. I will start out with line. So this is one of the few moments in these lab exercises lately where you will get to start out with line. I want my brush to be about 7 points. You can change it using your bracket keys or the slider. And I want the hardness to be at about 60%. Doesn't have to be exactly 60, it's just somewhere whereabouts. And I'm going to sample, which is the way I sample. I use Alt or I when I have my brush selected, the middle tone right here from my palette. And I'm going to start blocking in my background. Now remember, you should look at your reference a lot. Right now I'm only drawing on one screen, but normally I would have this either printed out or on another monitor. So I'll just flip to it every once in a while. I also have this app called PureRef that will actually bring it up in Photoshop while I work. That's real nice. You can download that and it's free. But I'll start blocking in my background. And I'm going to do this loose and quick, just like a gesture drawing. I don't have to stick to it. This is just so I'm not starting with a blank canvas. Let's put a moon in there. We need a moon. Every drawing should have a moon. In the sunlight, have a moon. Okay, I have my background blocked in, then I'll block in my figure. Normally I discourage y'all from putting things dead center, but this is my vision. As long as you're careful, you can do that, but symmetry's hard. And working on a tablet may be a new experience for you. And you can see I'm doing this just like a gesture drawing. Not going into too much detail. Okay, so I got my figure blocked in. Now that I have that, I'm actually going to change my brushes. And you may be thinking to yourself, hey, I've been doing this for a little while. We're towards the end of the semester for Art for Games. I can use whatever brush I want. But we don't learn unless if we're uncomfortable. That's important. We got to try new things. So no matter what, I want you to try this kind of brush, which is called a chalk brush. It's going to be like a little rectangle like it is here. This is the point where we get to use all 3 of our colors. I would start out with the mid-tone and actually block in your whole figure with about a 60% opacity. Remember, you can use the number keys to change that. And color it solid. This is kind of similar to how we did our silhouette project. And you can eat away at it with your eraser and add to it, working both additive and subtractively to block that figure in there. And I'm going to do this quicker for the sake of time than I normally would do it, so it will be a little sloppy, but you can really take your time and get the silhouette exactly how you want it here. Okay. I would also block in my trees and stuff as well. But for the sake of time, I'll go ahead and show you how you start using the other colors. Now I'm going to select my highlight next. and I'm going to determine my light source. So I'm going to have my moon be my light source, and I'm going to pretend the stars cast a little bit of light in this direction over here. So I'll look back at my reference. I'll start adding that highlighted color. This is very similar to how you would block in that tone portrait that we did for our last lab. So I got it from the sun and then a little bit from the stars. Sorry, got it from the moon. A little bit from the stars in the opposite direction there. A little bit of cast off. And then, of course, I'll take my shadows. I'll start blocking in my shadows. I'll work with my background as well as I go along. Make sure you don't just focus on the figure. You're going to want to work the space evenly. Almost work on the canvas in a spiral. Add your cast shadows and all of that good stuff. And as I work on this, I'm going to want to smooth out my strokes as well. You can see if I zoom in, wow, that's a hot mess. But I can use my brush to sample those transitions, lower my opacity for shading, and start to smooth out that area to create nice, pretty transitions. However, you don't want to spend all day doing this. Work relatively large because, again, you only have 2 hours. So you may have seen that my laptop's low on battery because I didn't plug it in before this demo. So I'll continue to work on this in class so you can see more of a transformation. But that's the end of the recording. If you have any questions, you can ask me after this recording. Thanks, and good luck on your projects.